So now we are, as I said, going to learn the class things, okay? So before learn class, so I have one link for you guys. So we are basically learning programming right now, right? So programming, I'm not a computer science. My major was architectural design, but I'm very interested in learning new things. So as far as I know, program paradigm is there's a lot of different types of program paradigms. So for example, like functional programming. So we learned how to create the definition in Python, right? So if you create the multiple function and then cook your function, we can think about this as sort of, let's say, functional programming paradigm. Yeah, and also we have here procedural paradigm and mathematical paradigm and logical things. But now we are trying to learn something about object-oriented programming paradigm things. Okay, so here. There's a page which talks about class in TypeScript because we are learning TypeScript right now. But again, once you're familiar with creating the class in one language, it's really easy to expand in your knowledge to Python or Java or C#. It's just a matter of time, just very easy. But most important thing is that understanding the concept, okay, that I'm going to talk about today. So there is a lot of, I mean, this is a really deep sort of area in terms of the class programming things. So if you guys, I mean, tomorrow we're gonna make a more in-depth knowledge, in-depth learning in the class. So today's we have a different perspective learning the class. So we have one perspective which is like for the beginner today, and tomorrow we have like a more depth learning for the class. So if you are interested in it, just please read this article because there's a lot of like a good material, like official class things in TypeScript here. And now we are reached the geometry class as a data structure. So this workshop is, we are going to build mathematical geometric object. And then using this object, we're gonna visualize the mathematical object using Canvas API. Okay, so here, I guess most of you guys are like a designer, right? So designer is not that, close to the math, but we are dealing with the geometry or shape. So actually, when you decompose the shape, the most important data is a vector. Yeah. So actually, using vector, you can describe whatever you want. I mean, curve, surface, mesh. You can describe this one, these kind of shapes by vector. Okay. So vector is a sort of mathematical object representing sometimes like a direction or magnitude or velocity, or we have like more multi-dimensional vector, yeah, more than 3. So there's some useful article like how to subtract and calculating angle vector. There's a lot of, as I said, good material on the website. So just Google it and then find one of the material that you just want to read. Yeah. So this is just basic, definition of a vector. And here, if you click it, it brings us to CodePen, site, which is our friend. Yeah. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Yeah, it's hard. Okay, so I create a array or list. It depends on people how we call it, but we can call it array. Okay. So I assign 0, 0, 0. So I just print it. So we basically contain 3 different values in an array, right? So this is vector actually, yeah. So we can put more information here, yeah. This is also vector, yeah. But now we are, trying to learn the class things. So we have a better representation, better way to encapsulate the information and behavior as an object. Okay, so I mean, in this case, this is just a simple array, right? So if I if I execute this line, and the pose is an array, so it has some particular inbuilt function that we already know, like a length, right? For example. So, but now we are trying to create our own sort of 100% customized class. Yeah. So this is the example here. So actually, before I talk about before you decompose an individual line of this class, so I will give you more like a high level abstract idea of the class. Okay. So for example, we are human being, right? We are creature, we're a living being, right? Yeah. There is no living being. The living being, we're like a human is sort of a concept. Yeah. There's no human, but there's an NJ. NJ is sort of an implementation of a human. Human is just like a sort of an abstract concept, right? So we basically need to think about some object or some behavior in this way. Okay. So just focusing on the human, for example. So we have a human. From the human, I'm gonna make a object called NJ, right? So I'm NJ, yeah, I'm become object. So what I did is, this is a sort of the concept, like a human being, and then I create its own object. In this case, the list object, okay? So I create a vector class, like a concept, and then I implement, like make an instance out of this class, okay? So now I'm a human being, right? I have two different sort of parameters. Like one is some of information, like information, yeah, like a name, address, and height, weight. This is sort of information, data that belongs to me, NJ, correct, right? And the other way around is I can walk, I can eat, yeah, I can learn. Yeah, this is sort of a behavior, right? So with two angles of the class, we can describe many things, to be honest. So for example, I have a car. I'm going to make a car object, right? So maybe we need some parameter for the car, like how much is it, for example, and what else? The brand name. Yeah, this is the information, right? And then also, we need to make a functions like a run, break, open the trunk, or open the turn on the light, yeah, things like that. This talks about behavior, right? Correct. So we have a vector here, right? So what kind of information vector could have, right? It's very obvious, right? The vector is, we use vector as a representing something in special, right? In special information or special context. So there should be three numbers, yeah, because we are using the Cartesian coordinate. So using three numbers, we can describe something in this coordinate system called X and Y and Z, right? So I declare the class name with this sort of designate inbuilt function, and then just forget about the static for now. I'm going to comment out. And then it has variable, yeah, X, Y, Z, yeah. And then we use TypeScript, so we need to define the types of a variable, yeah. So I just put the number. Maybe we can do this. So basically, what I did is I give it the default value, yeah. And then actually we don't need to do this one. Yeah, this is the most minimum code to create the vector here. Yeah. So we declare the names of the class, yeah, and then I open the curly brace and then close the curly brace, yeah. Just close the curly brace, yeah. And then I can put some parameter that I want to append to the class. So for example, like a weight or height or name or address of NJ, for example. And then this is the constructor. It's sort of a syntax we need to follow. So but inside of the constructor, there's an opportunity to give us some parameter. It's like a requirement parameter. So in order to create this vector, we must inject this information to that class to create instance from that class, correct? And then we have the other, we have 3 different functions which define each behavior of class. In this case, the vector. Yeah. So as I said, we need 3 parameters here to create the instance. Yeah, to create the object out of this class. So we define the class, and then in the constructor, now we know constructor is sort of the initial entry point to trigger to create this instance from this class. So x, y, z, 3 different value, and z has a default value, meaning that the z value sort of become optional, right? So I put like 10, 2.25, and 1 for each parameter, right? Yeah. And then also you can see here, I created declare the back A here, and then I using the dot notation. Yeah, that we are already familiar with, like a blah blah dot length or dot to upper string or lowercase of uppercase. Yeah, remember that, right? So now we know, oh, we can create our own sort of customized functions here. So this is a sort of, we actually learn something behind the scene, yeah. Meaning that we have a more opportunity to create our own design system or some class that we can control 100%, right? So, but the other interesting thing we need to understand is this. Yeah, in the Python, we use a self. I think so, yeah, self. Self is the same as the this in the TypeScript. So what it does is basically this indicate the class itself, right? So that this x means it point this x, right? And this x, obviously, because we have a curly brace here, open and close, so we know this is one scope that can execute by executing this line, right? So this is sort of a scope. This scope, if you execute this one, we execute this scope. Basically, curly brace define the area that we need to execute in that, like the execution of the function, correct? So in this case, if you do this like this, it probably they try to override something. Yeah, so we must type like this context here. I'm just trying to remember the Java or C#. You don't need to do that, but I'm recommending you guys to make a more explicit code, as I said. Yeah, because it's easy to debug and then easy to maintain your more robust code system. Okay, so let me describe this code again. So I put the class, which is designate keyword, to declare class. Yeah. So the class is not actual object. We just define some template. Yeah. Throughout the template, we create the actual object. Let's say an instance of this object. Yeah. So we this is the name of the class. Yeah. And then it always bring the constructor. This is mandatory. Otherwise, the code is gonna break because this is a syntax. Yeah. So we have X and Y and Z. We need to define the type because this is TypeScript. In the JavaScript, you can actually execute very similar syntax. Yeah. But you don't need to mention the type, which is actually sometimes good because loose rule. But as I said, the strict rule is always great, always best for the programmer or computational designer as time goes by, because it prevent from mistake and bugs. Yeah. So here, toString here. Sorry. So throughout the constructor, we basically create the object with this designate value that I pass when I create this class. Yeah. So the most important thing is that there's a new keyword. the code is gonna break without the new keyword, but we need to put the new. So in this case, computer understand, oh, they're trying to make an instance from the class. Yeah. So this has something to do with memory assign on the low level. Anyhow, so I create the let's say class. What is this? My vector object. Yeah. And then I try to call the function which is called toString. Yeah, as the name stands for, we can predict what it does, right? So we can actually see the code here, right? So there's no input value, yeah, because so that we don't need to put any information when you execute the function here. However, there's a return value here. So we call this function is return something, yeah. So there's two different types of function. One is the return void, which is nothing, yeah. Otherwise, it returns something, yeah. So, for example, let me do something like just st, yeah, and then I'm going to copy this code. Once I execute this line, can you predict what kind of information gonna live inside of this SR variable? Actually, there's nothing, yeah, because there's no return value simply. So anyhow, so in the return value, they basically return a string which has their own x value, this y, this z, yeah. Okay. And also, we have a toJSON, yeah. This function we already learned, right, previously. So toJSON, we can expect, we can basically convert this object as a string, yeah. So here, this is the return value of this this execution, yeah. And because this is a string, so that we are able to see this string like this, right? However, if you execute trigger, the toJSON function, so we are able to get this kind of object, yeah. There are huge difference, right? Now you guys know, right? Because there are huge, absolutely different things. So now I'm going to create the other vector here, which has a little bit different number, right? 3 minus 2 along the y-axis and 5 along the z-axis, right? So we have two vectors, and then I just put the name of class, yeah, and then I'm also use the dot notation, yeah. So there's two different let's say execution, yeah, or function things, I guess. One is the instance function, the other one is a static function. Whenever you create your instance out of class, the instance function always belongs to that particular object, yeah. So for example, I'm gonna create a multiple NJ. They have their own sort of the weight or height, right? If I execute it function, I'm trying to eat something, and then the it function increases my weight, right? This weight is always affect this particular NJ, correct? Because they have their own particular like a value, yeah. We call this static information, instance information, right? On the other hand, we have here static, yeah. Static is sort of single truth of source, just like one single like a function, yeah. So on the memory wise, actually, the static function is a better use, right? Because for example, if I create 1,000 of point, meaning that this function also occupy memory somehow, thousands of number of the functions. Yeah, this is like a very bad sort of usage of the memory, right? So in this case, however, so we use the static keyword, meaning that it belongs directly to that class. So that's why I put this name directly here. There's no new keyword because we are not interested in create the object out of this class because there's no new keyword. We simply want to use this class. If you guys are just familiar with the C# in Python, let's say the Grasshopper or Python Grasshopper things, there's a lot of static or instance functions that they already built. Because the reason I'm saying is because I'm probably, you guys more familiar with the Grasshopper environment, right? So I'm trying to take advantage of what we already familiar with. So just open the Grasshopper and then click the C#, and then maybe you can put the liner dot geometry dot, you can see point. Yeah, this is sort of like class. We call it namespace. Yeah, so you need to put like a new keyword in order to create the point out of this class. At the same time, you can put the namespace and then you can just put the dot notation in order to use the static function, just like this, right? So this static function needed two. These types is the same type, right? So you don't need to make the same type, but I'm just trying to describe what it does. So we try to, the input value is 2 vectors in order to return the distance between 2 points, correct? So I put the name of a class, and then using the dot notation, I'm directly access the static function, yeah? And then I put the vector A here, and then vector V, B, and then we are able to get the distance out of this function, right? I mean, you don't need to worry about to digest the entire things, yeah. So even for me, I mean, it takes time. I mean, yeah. So I'm just trying to describe and, you know, don't be stressed out. This is what I'm trying to say, actually. Yeah. So anyhow, now we have 2 sort of vector, and then we we get the distance between 2 vectors. The distance is like this, yeah. And then the distance is, you know, this is something like, there's a lot of information, yeah. I mean, I'm always search information, always search internet for my information. So distance, for example, here we have a mathematical equation. What I did is just implement it, yeah, just implement it as a just simple math here. Yeah. It's nothing special. I'm trying to get the distance between the point and then apply the scale, and then yeah. So the return value is 9.113 blah 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 blah. Right. So now we know how to create the class. Yeah, how to create the particular information or value to that class, and then how to append particular function which always follow to their own instance. Yeah. Also, we know how to create a static function. Yeah. So this is the, I mean, it's really, there's more information about the class, but I'm just trying to, you know, give you guys the most important understanding or idea related to the class. So I think we are good to go. Just revisit and then just typing, please. So now we have a color information. So basically we are designing. So yeah, go ahead.
In the code before in your static, in vector 0 and in vector 1, my point was the same value. Is there a reason why it's not my point 1 and my point 2? Or
okay, here's thought. There's just 2 different values: vector 0, v0, and v1. Yeah, and then that one is just indicating the types of the geometry that we need to pass. Yeah, just type. Yeah, just like that. X, Y, Z is a number. So we just explicitly mentioned the type. I think this is the beauty of the TypeScript. Yeah. That's why we wanted to use the TypeScript. By the way. Thanks for asking the question, by the way.